Let's talk about the real estate market and some of the conditions that places as well. Sometimes when you are dealing with a house that's not selling, one of your first considerations is probably going to be the real estate market itself. There are various market conditions that will impact the sale of a home. If it's an oversaturated market, and yes, people, I'm talking about an immediate market for a house of interest, not the entire state of Florida, certainly not the entire United States. Your local market, that community. If you're in Riverview, I'm talking about not just Riverview, I'm talking about a community itself where you're looking. Apollo Beach, where I centralize, it's important for me to realize what's going on in each of the communities, the waterfront side of Apollo Beach, as well as the other side of our main highway. There are very different contributing factors to how well houses are doing on both sides of that main road. Local market conditions too, economic turndowns, seasonal fluctuations in Florida, local market conditions, these may all have individual property effects. They may make certain things be less appealing. If there's no convenient access to a good school, if there's changes in the local businesses or industries, or even lots of construction in projects for the newer home builds, these are all things that may get in the way. If you were paying attention in earlier classes, and if you haven't seen them yet, certainly hit our YouTube channel, like them, subscribe them, and certainly make comments. We will reflect on those comments directly to you. But pay attention to some of the things that are out there. We do a really good job of teaching you everything that's happening in the market today, not just broad-based 35,000 feet kind of conversations, but what's happening in this market right now. Unfortunately, there's not always a fix for these issues. Neither the home seller or the real estate agent can often control the state of the market itself. But what we can do is develop a better understanding of the condition and understand how we're going to work well together to get through some of these challenges. We may need to be incredibly efficient at our marketing to drive more customers to our house over some of the things that are happening in the community. We can also be incredibly transparent and let them know the community is sinking lots of money into infrastructure. That means we've got some construction that we're dealing with right now, but when it's finished, they have increased the capacity for 15,000 homes that are being built in our area in the next 5 years, etc. Be that beacon of truth. And at Keystone, we are consultants. So it's important that everything that we preach, we can also support in writing. So make absolutely sure if you're saying it, you can back it up. And I don't mean a quick Google search either. Adjusting your pricing strategy and staging the home correctly or playing with some of these creative listing descriptions are all going to be smart maneuvering for you in rougher waters. Speaking of communication, let's talk about poor communication for a minute. Agents, this is for you, and listen up. Owners, I need you to pay attention here because you need to understand what makes our job probably the most difficult. Isn't necessarily the house. It might be working with you. Communication is our biggest yet simplest reason why a house is not selling. The listing agent and the home seller are responsible to communicate openly, honestly, and about the property. Agents, set the expectations, the concerns. Owners, ask the right questions. If you saw something on Google, if you saw something on YouTube, if you're still talking to a friend and there's a non-real estate agent expert out there whispering in your ear, bring that information to us. Let us talk you through it. Because what your buddy that bought a house 15 years ago might be telling you has no bearing on what we're doing today. So make sure that you're using us in our expert capacity in today's market, not just whatever you saw on the internet from 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years ago. How do you fix a problem like communication? Honestly, you need to work with a professional. And agents, you need to be a professional. And I say this with all honest heart and appreciation for your craft. If you're not good at communicating, please get out of the business. You make it hard for the rest of us. If you're out there just looking for the easy deal and you got enough friends and family that are throwing houses on the market, that's what's been keeping you in it for this long, it's time for you to step aside do some type of referral business with a professional agent. Please don't make our job harder. And owners, please pay attention that the ones that are here, again, are not all created equally. So you need to be working with a reputable agent, even if they're new. If they're a hungry agent and understand the market, listen to them. You're going to know if they're telling you the truth. You're going to know if they're just sales pitching you around. And anything that a real estate agent tells you should be supportable by written fact. Now, please be careful just Googling the heck out of everything that you hear. If I Googled something, Googled every time that I got ill, I would certainly end up in the hospital more often than I would just take over-the-counter medication. So please take all that Google with a grain of salt, right? There's way too many contributors to the internet and not enough fact-checking going on. So just be careful, trust your instinct, trust your understanding of humanity, and have a nice, smooth conversation and an honest one with your real estate agent. Ideally, a real estate agent should be part of the process of selling the home, and they should have started with a listing presentation. The listing presentation set the property and the partnership up for success. This is what we call the initiate phase. This is where we come in and truly understand each other, not just we're selling a house and this is what our capabilities are, but how is our business going to work? How am I going to represent you and what you should expect from me? How are you going to communicate with me, Mr. and Mrs. Owner? And how are we going to effectively be honest with each other and represent your property in its current condition? That listing presentation, that is a singular part of every conversation that we get started with a new home seller. This includes a marketing overview for you, staging consultation, meaning fixes and repairs, and maybe we want to move some furniture out of the house if you're going to be living there during the process. A comparative market analysis, a true CMA, not just me scribbling on a notebook somewhere. That is not valuable to you. And an explanation of my marketing plan. How do I plan on selling your house? What tools do I have at my disposal? How do I plan on getting things done and representing you quickly and efficiently too? Just don't think for 1 second your neighbors aren't watching and listening to all of the people coming in and out of your house. They want to know who their next neighbor is. So them being nosy is to your advantage. Now, that guy that's been fixing his car next door in his driveway, the agent should also be comfortable going next door and knocking and saying, hey, I need your help. Trying to sell the house next door, it's going to be on the market within a week. Is it at all possible for us to help you clean up this area so that your home or your vehicle problem doesn't affect the seller's situation because they need to move quickly or whatever the story may be? Now, let's get back to it. That listing presentation should also include open conversation about the home's true condition, potential challenges that we see, and how do we interpret the marketing responses, the showings, the buyer agent feedback, the feedback we get from open houses. How are we going to communicate that back to you, Mr. Owner? And how are we going to make absolutely sure that we're being transparent in the things that may be working against us in the sale of this home? All hope is not lost if the agent did not start the process this way, but professional advice to all of my agent friends out there: do better. Your client deserves excellent representation for the money that we make. If you don't want them to question your commission, show on day one that you are prepared and you are a professional. I realize you may not have come from a corporate community or worked at a high professional level of sales before you got into real estate, but we teach you the craft. If you're working at the right brokerage, it's our job to help you educate and step it up, elevate yourself to the next level always. If you need help doing that, feel free to call us here at Keystone. We are happy to help you contribute to your success, as well as you've got open access to a general portion of our classes. You want to become a member of our organization and work with us? Fantastic. We'll teach you even more. If you are an agent and you can and should have this conversation at any point, it's better late than never. That bad news for this new listing is not going to get better with time. And if you're the homeowner, you cannot tell your agent that you'd like to meet to review your questions, concerns, and frustrations later. Do it now. Tell them what the condition of your home is. Tell them what challenges you know we're going to run into. We can often get ahead of it. And with an as-is contract, for example, We can expose some ineffective conditions of the home that are going to be adverse to a smooth selling transaction. And we can negotiate those out on day one simply by exposing them. Agents, if you're good at your job, this is your punch list. This is what you want to be able to put in your listing report and those agent comments. Here are the following conditions that we know are going to adversely affect the sale. They are already adjusted for in the pricing, and you should get with us with a strong offer based on this knowledge. Next thing, this is all on us, kids. Ineffective marketing. You guys have been hearing me harp on this for a few weeks now, and I want to consistently bring it to the very top of the stack. When there are no obvious issues with the home or the real estate market, homeowners are more likely to ask you, and more often, why isn't my home selling? What's wrong with it? When you came in and got my listing, when we did the listing presentation together, you were excited, Mr. or Mrs. Agent. You said my home was in peak condition for the market, that this is going to be a quick sell. What's going on? If a home truly isn't generating interest on its own, it's likely not being marketed effectively. Before you start spiraling out of control right now and thinking that you or your listing agent doesn't know what they're doing, remember, this can happen to even the best of homes. And if it's a high-priced home, if it's a $1 million plus house in the state of Florida, it's going to take longer. People don't typically have that money just sitting at the bank or in a garage box, just waiting to run out and buy your house with a wheelbarrow and a whole bunch of green money in it. It doesn't work that way. So be prepared, know your product, know that you might have some challenges, including we have the capability of looking at every home that has sold in your neighborhood over the last 5 years, for example, tell you how long over those market trends it took to sell a house in your neighborhood. It's often small details that can be adjusted or updated to make all of the difference for you. For example, agent friend did this with a beautiful home backed up to a golf course. Home was not getting as many showings as the agent and seller expected. After a few days, my friends searched the MLS for golf course communities, found out that the listing didn't even show up in the golf course listings. It was a syndication problem.